initiated with soulful Vedic chant by our Veda Patashala students. It was soulful and solemn indeed. Let me request the presence of our Madam Chairperson on the dais to honor the memory of our former correspondent, Sri M.G. Srinivasan, by sharing with us her words of remembrance as an act of tribute to the departed soul. Dr. Vanitha, please accompany Madam to the stage.
Before lighting the Namaskaram on this very solemn occasion, because we remember our correspondent, Sri M.G. Srinivasan, the younger brother of Pujya Swamiji, who has passed away 10 days ago. He has contributed much despite his age. He was 85 when he came here to Manjakudi to take over and look after the demise of GR. And so we owe all the, what shall I say, the leadership, guidance, and taking care of the students, the staff, all the non-teaching staff, everybody. He was there even at the age of 93. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he will come, he will say Namaskaram, and then he will be there in the office by 9:15. Have you imagined at 91 he was doing that, 92 he was doing that, and 93 he was doing that. It's only in the last 1 month he was not well and he could not come to the office, which to him was a great loss. So on this day, and for his 10 years of contribution to Manjakudi and to our Swami Dayananda Educational Trust, we would like to pay our homage to him by standing up and observing 1 minute silence. Om.
On this August occasion of the inaugural day of the 20th Convention, I invite our Madam Chairperson and the dignitaries, Swamini Brahma Prakashananda ji, Srimati Shanti Ranganathan, and Srimati Radhika Srinivasan to fill the auditorium with positive energy by lighting the ceremonious Kuttuvilakku. Dr. Kavita, please accompany the dignitaries onto the stage. Now the dignitaries are going to light the ceremonial lamp. Madam Chairperson is lighting the lamp. followed by Swamini Amma. In line with her are Srimati Shanti Ranganathan and Srimati Radhika Srinivasan. As the traditional lamp disseminates positivity, let the auditorium be filled with more positive energy as Bharata Desha Hitaya plays on.
Shahitaya Bharatadi Mahamati Sevita Bharata Deshahitaya Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Aase tu Himachala Vanagirijana Samrakshanaya Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Ayurarogya Vivardhanaya Dharma Samsthapanaya Shobha Nivaranaya Subhiksha Pariprapanaya Deenajana Uddharanaya Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Bharata Deshahitaya Bharatani Mahamati Sevita Bharata Deshahitaya Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam Tvam Kuru Sevam.
I request the presence of Madam on the stage while the other dignitaries take their honorable seats on the front row of the auditorium. Thank you, dignitaries. May we have our Madam Chairperson to officially welcome the solemn gathering. Ma'am.
Once again, namaskaram, particularly to Dr. Vikram Sampath, our speaker for today. Namaskaram, thank you so much for making the effort to be with us and share your vast knowledge and in-depth knowledge of our Indian history as seen through our Indian eyes or Bharatiya eyes. And to you students, a warm welcome. I think you're all the first year students, the first convention you're attending. And this is quite an eye-opener for you for the next 5 days. Please make points as you're listening to the speaker, and so that you can ask questions. And I'd like as many questions as possible from both of you, from the boys and the girls. So please, have you all got a notebook or a pen and with you to make points? Yes? Okay, good. And to our dignitaries, our guests who have come from all across to be with us and join us on this occasion, which is our 20th convention. It is no easy task. This college has been functioning for 25 years. In June 2026, it'll be a silver jubilee. And in that 20 years, we have had every January, we've had this convention of 5 to 6 days. For the first year students particularly, I'd like to share how we started this. In those days, Swamiji used to come here and give a set of talks for 3 days, and then 4 days, and then we would have the convocation on the 5th day, the graduation day. This is how we have been following a pattern over the last so many years. Then in the evening, we found after Swamiji spoke, there was a little bit of a kind of a time where we could relax a little more. And so we started bringing in musicians. We had all the well-known Carnatic musicians and Bharatanatyam dancers and Kuchipudi and Manipuri. And they all would come. And each year we've had our students exposed to various forms of dance and the formats of the Kacheri format of Carnatic music. And this became like a kind of a tradition in Manjakudi. In the 20 years, people tend to ask, whom are you calling this year? Who is performing this year? So it has become a fixture now. I don't know, I hope it will continue for long, but it has been a great time for me also to learn more about how to bridge the divide between this region and the rest of India. This has been the reason why I've had this whole talk, because many of us, we are confined. How many of you have traveled to Delhi or Bombay? எவ்வளோ பேர் போயிருக்கீங்க? கையை தூக்குங்க பார்க்கலாம். கையை தூக்கு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ். எவ்வளோ பேர் டெல்லி பாம்பே போயிருக்கீங்க? One. See that? Wow, this is an eye-opener. So, one person has traveled to Delhi or Bombay among 900, 800 of you. So, what does it show? We are confined. நம்ம சின்ன தேசத்துக்குள்ளேயே நம்ம இருக்கோம். நம்ம குட்டி பிரதேசம், குட்டி மாநிலம், குட்டி தாலுகா and பிளாக்ல இருக்கோம். We don't know the whole இந்தியான்னு நம்மளுக்கு தெரியல. மேப் தான் பார்க்குறோம் தவிர அந்த விஸ்தாரம், the extent of India நம்மளுக்கு மைண்டில் வரல. So the only way I thought I can bridge this was bringing speakers from different, not only Choras, of course I started, then the Vijayanagar period we started, then we started all, the different parts of India also. Then we brought in art forms, dance forms from different parts of India. So, உங்களுக்கு வந்து இந்தியானா just நம்ம மட்டும் இல்லை. நம்ம பாரத தேசம்ங்கிறது எங்கே இருக்கு? இமயமலையிலேருந்து கன்னியாகுமரி வரைக்கும் இருக்கா இல்லையா? நீங்கள் மேப்பை மட்டும் பார்க்குறீங்க, ஆனால் அந்த சுற்றளவை நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு பிளேனில் போய் பார்க்குறீங்க வச்சுக்கோங்க. How vast is our country? And not only vast, நம்ம கல்ச்சர் ஒவ்வொரு village to village it changes. Food habit changes, dialect changes. ஓ நீ சவுத் தமிழ்நாடுவா, நீ நார்த் தமிழ்நாடுவா, நீ கர்நாடகா பார்டரா, கேரளா பார்டரா பேசுவாங்கல்ல. தமிழே எவ்வளோ மாறி இருக்கு. அதே மாதிரி if you go to every other language also it keeps changing. So this country is vast, it's diverse culture, diverse food habits. No other country in the world has got such diversity as India has regarding food, music, dance. ஒரு country, ஒரு city, இன்னொரு city, ஒரு town, இன்னொரு town, எல்லாம் வித்தியாசம். It is not like many of the western countries. நீங்கள் அமெரிக்காலாம் போனேன்னா coast to coast அதே மாதிரி தான் இருக்கும். Same shops, same food, same everything. No difference at all. But நம்மளுக்கெல்லாம் தெரியறதில்ல. ஏன்னா we are stuck in one small place. So I wanted to bring all of this alive to you, and that is why this 20 years has been, I hope all of you will carry back with you when you leave this college with some idea of the vastness and the glory of our country. So this is our 20th convention, and I'm very happy to say we've got 5 days to listen to eminent speakers. You have the program with you, and today, the whole program inaugurates with Dr. Vikram Sampath, who is very, very well known in the history circles about his various books. He's a great author. And more importantly, more closely to us, which is interest, is his family. Father and grandfather came from Kodavasal. He is from Kodavasal, so I believe before he came, his father told him all the various places that he should visit, which is nearby. And Kodavasal is 4 kilometers away from Manjakudi. So on this note, I'd like to thank you all once again, especially our guests. They don't need to come, they don't have to come, and they have made so much effort to be with us. I don't want to name any one person, but I'm sure you all know each and every one of you have made this effort to come. I really, truly thank you, because it is a kind of a validation that Manjakudi has something special to offer. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your warm words of welcome. I'm here to share with you a few words of introduction about the inaugural speaker, Dr. Vikram Sampath. This Bangalore-based historian, who has a lineage from Kodavasal, is the author of 10 acclaimed books on Indian history, including Splendors of Royal Mysore, The Untold Story of the Udayars, Voice of the Veena, S. Balachandra, Women of the Records and Indian Classical Music, and the Gramophone. His 2-volume biography, Savarkar, echoes from the forgotten past and Savarkar, a contested legacy, and his latest books, Brave Hearts of Bharat, Vignettes from Indian History, and Waiting for Shiva, Unearthing the Truth of Kashi's Gyanvapi, have all gone to become national bestsellers. His latest book, Tipu Sultan, the saga of Mysore's interregnum, has been creating waves even before it hit the stands and has gone for numerous reprints and won several awards, including the Sahitya Ashtak Award, Kalinga Litfest, and Banaras Litfest Awards for Best Nonfiction. In 2021, Vikram was elected a Fellow of the prestigious Royal Historical Society in the UK. He was awarded the Sahitya Academy's first Yuva Puraskar in English Literature and the ARSC International Award for Excellence in Historical Research in New York for his book, My Name is Gauhar Jan, The Life and Times of Musician. The book has even been adapted for a play, Gauhar, by Lilith Dubey. He was among 4 writers and artists selected as writers in residence at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in 2015. Vikram has a doctorate in history and music from the University of Queensland, Australia, and was a senior research fellow at the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, New Delhi. He was also a fellow of the Aspen Global Leadership Network, Eisenhower Global Fellow, and a visiting fellow at the Wissenschaftskolleg Berlin. Currently, he is an adjunct senior fellow at Monash University, Australia. He is the founder of the Archive of Indian Music, the Foundation for Indian Historical and Cultural Research, FIHCR, that fosters new scholarship in Indian history, and Now AI, a tech startup that he established with Sandeep Singh Chauhan that translate content from English to Indian languages. We are grateful to our Madam Chairperson for bringing eminent speakers every year to Manjakudi. May I invite today's speaker, Dr. Vikram Sampath, on the dais. Dr. Sheshadri, kindly accompany him onto the dais. let's explore our history through Vikram Sampath's eyes, through the Indian lens.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A very, very good morning, Suprabhatam, to all of you, to Srimati Sheila Balaji, to the members of the Trust, and my wonderful students who have gathered here in such large numbers. As Sheila ji mentioned, the invitation for this talk came to me, believe you me, in March 2025. Where Sheila ji wrote an email to me saying, in January 2026, we are planning this convention. And I was honestly very flummoxed because, till next week what I am doing, I usually don't know. And to plan actually 9 months in advance was something that no organizer, I think, has ever done in the past. And now I know why, because I think the amount of meticulousness and the detail with which things are organized here, it is testimony to the fact that so much of thought, so much of planning goes into putting this together. What you see is just the end product, but what all goes on in the process, I think I've seen it in action. And on this occasion, I also, convey my tributes to the lotus feet of Param Pujya Swami Dayanand Saraswati ji, who has been the inspiration behind this wonderful institution. It's very appropriate that we are commencing this incidentally. Today is the first day of what is, for a lot of practicing Shaktas, including me, the first day of the Magha Gupta Navaratri. We only know about the Sharadiya Navaratri in October, but there's a Gupta Navaratri, and this is more of an internal journey towards oneself, and that is why the presiding deity of these 9 days is very rightfully goddess Shyamala or Raja Matangi, the tantric form of goddess Saraswati. So it is so appropriate that 6 out of these 9 days you are actually dedicating to knowledge and its upasana in the true kind of service to the goddess. As she mentioned, I think one of the main driving forces for me to accept and come here was that it is so close to my paternal home, which I have probably very seldom visited. The vicissitudes of urban life, being in Bangalore, away from everything, it puts you, takes you out, away from your own roots. Yesterday, while I was coming all the way by road from Bangalore, a lot of nostalgia that my father, imbued in me started coming. Maybe this is the place where my grandfather walked around. There was a huge banyan tree. Probably that's where my father played. There was a Raman Koil there in Parthiyur in Kodavasal, which is supposed to be my family's temple. My grandfather was a Sanskrit scholar there and so on. So all these thoughts kept coming in my mind. And I was forced to reflect that probably that is also history. History is just not about kings and queens and other people you read in books. Each of us, are moving embodiments of history. And so what becomes our family history then slowly enlarges to maybe the community history, the village or town and city history, and then national and global history. By an unscientific poll, a show of hands, the adults are also allowed, but at least the students, how many of you, very honestly, don't fear your history teacher if at all he or she is sitting in the audience, how many of you actually liked reading history, studying history while you were in school? Wow. So this is almost, Sheila ji, as much as the Delhi-Bombay show of hands, maybe 10 or 12. And I would also, raise my hands if the emotion was in the opposite side, because honest confession of a historian, I hated history while I was growing up. And I think the maximum number of punishments that I ever got in school for any subject was history. I would always be very dutifully found kneeling down outside class and got beaten up very badly by my teacher, because I simply could not understand and memorize who succeeded whom, which war was fought in which era. All of these extraneous details which you feel are so meaningless to your life, isn't it? Is that what you did not like about history? That you were just memorizing things? Raise of hands. Or was there something else? Someone can just stand up and say, what in history did you not like? Anyone from the young people in the audience? Come on, it's a Monday morning. I don't want you to go into sleep like a typical history class. What in it did you not like? Can someone answer? Who'll bell the cat? Come on. They're shy. Okay, we'll probably catch up on that during the question answer session. But as you grow up, you realize that history is not just this subject which you memorize and are waiting to get rid of, when you grow up. And it is a kind of a mirror in which you can identify yourself as a nation, as a people, as a civilization. So just as I spoke about rediscovering your family roots. Now just assume that probably, and to a large extent, being away from Tamil Nadu, my Tamil is not so great. I don't know the language perhaps. And I go to my ancestral town. And someone else is telling me stories about my own family, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, all of them. And this is written in a language I don't understand now anymore. I have moved away from it. And he or she, some ancestor must have been a great achiever. They must have done something very good. But this person with some vested interest is telling me that my ancestor was a horrible person. He committed so many atrocities. He was not the kind to be emulated. Now what will I do then? I will somewhere imbibe those, subliminally start believing that I don't know the truth. I'm relying on this person who calls himself or herself an expert, and so must be they are correct. So what a view would I have of my own family and its history based on what someone else is telling, reading my own work from their eyes, from their lens, from their views, and I have a very, very distorted image or distorted picture of my own story. Now imagine the tragedy of this country, Bharat, is that over the centuries, we have lost touch with our own roots. We have forgotten what our own ancestors did. Instead, what we believe in is what someone else has told us. Because we don't read the languages. Probably very few people understand the languages in which our past has been written. Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, Sen Tamil, or Persian, Arabic. We know none of these languages. We rely on primary sources, which are the texts, and someone else is translating that for us. Sanskrit particularly, there are so many students of the Veda Pathshala here. You would, bear with me here that in Vedic Sanskrit, one word can have 10 meanings depending on the context. So whatever someone says, either maliciously translated or out of ignorance, we are just going to believe that this is what it is. And so, the idea of the past itself becomes very, very different, very distorted and warped. And that is the, talk that I hope to give you today on what does it mean to look at your own past through your own eyes. It can start from something as micro as looking at your own family, your own past, your own ancestry, slowly, transforming or becoming larger into the history of the country. And in this process, I will elucidate, I think over the course of the hour, some of the distortions that exist in the way we have been taught our past. And what could be another way of looking at it. the first, and I think very fundamental distortion that comes when we think of India, and this comes again from a colonial hangover. I'm sure all of you have heard of this word, colonization, colonialism. Now, colonialism has three aspects or three dimensions among several others. The first is political occupation. So, a small, tiny island thousands of kilometers away, which was Britain, occupying a land, as Sheila ji mentioned, so vast as Bharat, for 250 years, political occupation. And before that, you had the Turks, you had the Arabs, the Mughals, all of these people coming from far away and occupying the land politically. So political occupation is the first dimension of colonization. The second is, of course, economic colonization, which is exploitation of the resources here. So what the British did too, they took away our raw materials and took it back to England. The finished product would be done there, like our textiles, all the cotton, or everything, all the textile raw materials would be taken from here in the Manchester mills. They would be made into finished products and sent back to our country, killing local industry and also impoverishing the artisans and traders and everyone in the supply chain. So this was economic colonization, the resources taken away from here to build their underground tubes and everything that you see as infrastructure today in Europe and other parts of the world. This was the second part. Now, these two dimensions, they are perhaps slightly easy to, I wouldn't say very easy, slightly easy to get rid of. All countries put on several centuries of, resistance, and we also had a long freedom struggle about which too I will speak in the course of my talk. And we got rid of the political colonization. Now, economic colonization too, in 75, 78 years after independence, today we have exceeded, our colonizer in terms of being the larger, GDP, larger economy than UK too. So these two aspects you can still, with some amount of hard work and effort, get rid of. Now, the third dimension is the most difficult one, which is colonization of the mind. And I think that is what the British particularly did very well. The Turk and Mughals and all of these people, they came, brute force, broke temples, destroyed Gurukulams, did all of this. But I think the British did something very, very subliminal, which is capture our mind. And the biggest irony of it all is that I am talking all of this in the language that they gave to us, to all of you, waxing very eloquently about what anti-colonial thought needs to be. So that is the irony of it all. So what our colonizing masters gave us or taught us to believe, we have deeply, those thoughts have taken root in our mind. I'm nursing a bad throat, so please excuse me. So the first thing that the colonizing masters taught us was India was not even a country. Sir John Strachey, he was a person who was in charge of training all the civil service students, ICS, Imperial Civil Service students of India. And in the very first lecture like this, he would tell the students that the only thing that you need to remember about India is that there never is or there never was anything called India. Literally saying that before we, the British, came to this land, you were all, disparate people fighting with each other, so many principalities, castes, the whole reconstruction of what caste is, and so on, in a very Western framework. And it is we who came and united you. And I think somewhere subliminally, several of us who are educated, who are well-meaning, we also somewhere subliminally believe this. That, till the British came, we were all warmongering among ourselves. They were the ones who united us politically. They gave us railways, they gave us education, they gave us English language, they gave us so many different things. So this concept of India is a very ahistorical notion, which is what I think several of us, axiomatically, if you actually reflect on it, maybe we also believe in that. But here I would like to make a big distinction between what a nation is and what a nation state is. A nation state is defined by borders, by laws that are promulgated, and these keep changing every now and then. Now, just in 1946, how the map of this subcontinent was, in 2 years it changed with the Radcliffe line, which made those borders. The one huge country was happily divided into 3 fragments. In those 3 fragments, it became 3 countries by 1971 when the war, Bangladesh war happened. And also within the country, 10, 15 years ago, there was a united Andhra Pradesh. Somebody decided we'll make it Telangana and Andhra, Uttaranchal and Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. So these borders can be drawn on a sheet of paper by anybody. A law can be passed. The constitution has been amended innumerable number of times. There are so many changes. So laws can change. The borders can change. But does that only define a nation? That defines what is called a nation state, which is a political unit. But a nation or a rashtra, as it is called, is something much beyond that. It is a common sense of emotional connect to a civilization, to a force, which goes far beyond these small units of laws and borders. It is more like, the constitution derives its strength, its soul from our civilization and not the other way around. It reflects what has been the ages, centuries of civilization that we have bequeathed. And for that, did our ancestors have any doubt about what this nation was or what this sacred geography was? Sheilaji mentioned about the Himalayas to Kanyakumari. In the Vishnu Purana, probably dating some say 400 to 300 BCE, some say 9th century CE, whatever be the case, very clearly it is mentioned in this shloka, Uttaram yat samudrasya himadraschaiva dakshinam varshatad bharatam nama bharati yatra santati. The entire landmass south of the Himalayas and north of the oceans, this entire geography, this landmass, Varsha, the country that it is called Bharata, and its children, Santati, are called Bharatiyas. Now, what more clear enunciation do you need of the fact that this was one entity that our ancestors looked up to, and that echoes even today. When you do a puja, the first thing when you do the sankalpam, it is Jambu Dvipe, Bharatavarshe, Bharatakhande. You are telling, I am sitting in this place, which is in the Jambu Dvipa, the subcontinent, in that there is a Bharatakhanda, probably the larger Indian subcontinent, in that there is this place which is Bharat, which is the country. And then which river, on the bank of which river, Kaveri, Godavari, whichever this thing. So everything is like a GIS, a mapping of a Google map that you do right from your puja and sankalpa. So the idea that our ancestors had about what Bharat is, that did not depend upon either the British coming and unifying us politically, maybe in some way, or even the constitution giving us a set of laws. This was ages old, centuries old thought, which was very deeply ingrained in our minds. If you take the Mahabharata, you have the Bhishma Parva, where there are almost 70 verses, which talk very detail about all the different geographies, right from Kashmira to, the Kamarupa on the east, Kuntala, the Chola country in the south, Karnataka, and you have all the people are also mentioned, like an anthropological survey of Bharat of that time. Who were the Yavanas, the Mlechas who came from outside. They were the Shabaras, the Kiratas who were there on the far east. So Anga, Vanga, all these land masses as we see them today were already very, very clearly demarcated in our imagination. I think the biggest manifestation of this understanding that what Bharat is through the works and life of Adi Shankaracharya. Now, here was a little boy who came from a village in Kerala. Now, he probably lived for 32, 33 years. If he wanted, he could have just sat in his village and done the entire prolific corpus of knowledge that he created. Instead, what did he choose to do? He went on a what is called a Digvijaya, across the length and breadth of this country several times. And he established the 4 cardinal mathas: south, north, east, west. Sringeri in the south, you had Badri in the north, Puri in the east, and Dwarka in the west. Literally giving you, without drawing how your teacher maybe asks you to draw today, draw the map of Bharat, Shankaracharya has given us the geography of Bharat by putting these mathas in these 4 corners. He could have established just one grand matha in Kerala and said, that is it, I'm done with it. And when he went from one place to the other, engaging with scholars, not with violent means, but through shastrartha, through debate, discussion, convincing another person to your viewpoint, not through violence of words or actions, but through intellect, through logic. When he was doing this, nobody said, oh, you are a foreigner, you come from Kerala, you cannot enter, say, Madhya Pradesh or what is Kashi. They all welcomed each other and engaged in this. So that common thread of civilization that ran through all of us for centuries, that is what defines what is a nation. And if you see also the way our pilgrim centers are located, we have the grand, epics in the Puranas which say, after Sati's death, by jumping into the Yajna Kunda of Daksha Prajapati, Shiva is so, sad and angry, and he's carrying her dead body on his, burning dead body on his shoulder and going, creating, rampage across the world. And that is where Vishnu sends his Sudarshan Chakra, and the entire body of Sati dismembers itself and falls in different parts. These 51, pieces that fall everywhere become the Shakti Pithas. And look at how they are also, scattered. Right from the Hinglaj Devi, which is today in Baluchistan, to the east, in, Dhakeshwari, the Bangladesh side, to even Kamakshi, in Kanchi. The entire Manachitra, or the map of Bharat, was also established that way. The 12 Jyotirlingas, again, scattered all over. And our ancestors would go on these pilgrimages. Today we have flights, we have, travel is so easy. But to go even to a Badrinath or Kedarnath and come back, I think just coming back was considered a great, achievement, because you may not even come back alive. But still they undertook this because they realized that if I felt my village or my part of the country is the most sacred, there were 100 others which were as sacred as mine, if not more. So this sense of parochialism also taken away, and saying the entire country, and not only just structures and stones and deities, mind you, but every part, the forests, the mountains, the rivers, we have personalized everyone. A river is also a goddess. Animals, plants, forests, mountains, everything is worship-worthy. The sacred geography of Bharat, everything is worship-worthy. And today, of course, we talk about environmentalism, climate change, protection of our environment, whereas these were ideas that were deep-rooted in our minds centuries ago. We have lost touch with them. That is another issue today. And that is why our rivers are in the state that they are. You need cleaning of the Yamuna, the Ganga, and all of these. But the first aspect that I wanted to touch upon was this idea that India was somehow not at all connected together, and it was artificially, brought together like a puzzle by the British, is the first myth that we need to dispel from our minds completely if we need to look at our history from our own eyes. And I'll give you one example of how, today's narratives, today's politics, how badly they distort this. Today we have this constant talk, the north and the south are different, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka are all flexing their muscles, whatever be the politics of that, I don't want to get into that. But does this have any historical basis? Now, one of the major Jyotirlingas was Kashi Vishwanath temple there. And it was called the Moksha Nagari, because, the minute a person who sheds his mortal coil there, his or her mortal coil, Shiva has promised in the Skanda Purana that I myself will come and chant the Taraka Rama mantra in the eyes of the soul, in the ears of the soul, and take the soul to moksha. So when the mandir there of Vishwanath was repeatedly broken by several people, it was first broken in 1194 CE by Kutubuddin Aibak, who was a commander of Muhammad Ghori. Now just 15, 16 years after that, and Kashi is in Uttar Pradesh, northern India. Now from far east, from Bengal, you had a Sena dynasty ruler called Vishwarupa, who comes and establishes a big stamba, Vijaya Stamba, right in the heart of Kashi. And the inscription on that read that this city belongs to Vishweshwara. This is ours, literally putting a copyright mark on the place itself. A grand temple could not be constructed because the Delhi Sultanate was still very powerful at that time. But then as slowly the powers weakened or the attention weakened, by around 1250, so 1194 he destroys it. About 1210 this man puts this pillar. Another 30, 40 years you go ahead, 1250, you have a businessman from Gujarat in the west called Seth Vastupal, who gives a couple of lakhs those days, a huge amount, to rebuild this grand temple at Kashi. And 20 years later, from South India, from the state that I now come from, Karnataka, you had the Hoysala ruler, Veera Narasimha III, who actually donates an entire village called Hebbale with an inscription again that all the revenue that is going to come from this village, that revenue can be used by devotees, by pilgrims to go and make their Tirtha Yatra to Kashi and to pay the jizya tax. Now, in those days, if we had to go and worship in our own temples, you had to pay a tax to the Sultanate there. So he writes there and he says all of this is offered to the lotus feet of Vishweshwara. And later on you had the Marathas. Finally, when Aurangzeb destroys the Kashi Vishwanath temple, it is said that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was alive and his mother Jijabai was very angered by this, and she said, if you are man enough, the motto of your life should be to liberate Vishwanath from the clutches. And it is said in a very poetic fashion, when he was going to die, all his followers come around him and they plead that have a happy after journey in your afterlife. And Chhatrapati Shivaji is supposed to have said, how can I go in peace and happiness when my Vishwanath is still in shackles? Now, and that becomes the rubric of all the Maratha Empire, the Peshwas, who, make an attempt to get this mandir back. So, Bengal, Gujarat, Karnataka, South India, Maharashtra, every part of India, they didn't think, acha, that is, they speak Hindi there. How does it matter to us? North India is different. Let us look at our own temple in our backyard. They didn't think of this. So if this is not a nation, this is not a Rashtra, what else is? How else did they connect? They didn't even know the languages of those places. So recently when the ASI survey, Archaeological Survey of India, did a survey at the Kashi Vishwanath temple because of the case that is going on there, you had inscriptions that came out, which was not just in Devanagari and Sanskrit. It was in Tamil, it was in Telugu, it was in Kannada, which kind of illustrates this very thing that everybody was thinking about that place. And Kashi is just one example. So there are numerous such places all over the country for which every Bharatiya soul actually, and heart bled and beat for. So the first myth that I wanted to dispel is this. Now moving on to the second one. The second one, I think, comes close to what Sheila ji was mentioning, that for such a vast country that we have, when we look at our history books, it is so centered around Delhi. I don't know how the books are here, but CBSE, at least when we read, I think we had chapters and chapters about every small little dynasty which ruled Delhi. the great dynasties of the south, from the Rashtrakutas, the Cholas, the Pallavas, the Pandyas, the Cheras, the Kadambas, the Gangas, the Hoysalas, the Vijayanagar rulers, the Chalukyas of Badami, all of these people, the Wadiyars of Mysore, the Travancore rulers, I don't think they featured in significant portion in our history textbooks. And I think, I don't know, now the books are slowly changing, I'm told. But even till a few years back, if you saw the history textbook of a class 7 person, all these kingdoms are done away with in a map, saying, Cholas ruled here to there, this and that, and half a paragraph on Hampi, and that too more about the destruction of Hampi rather than on its greatness. Chhatrapati Shivaji is disposed of in just a photograph, with a caption saying who this fellow was, and he did this and that. So a young boy or girl growing up in India, and probably everyone would get rid of history by the time they get out of class 10, all that they would know is, okay, that side profile, sharp nose, twirled mustache, that is Shivaji. But what was he? What did he do? The very fact that the British took over India not from the Mughals, but actually the Marathas, who ruled all the way from Attak to Cuttack and also Tanjavur. You have the Sarfoji, Shahaji, all the rulers of Tanjavur. Such a vast span. I don't think we are ever told that story. What about the northeast of India? We hardly know about anything of the northeast. Dynasties there that ruled for centuries. How many of you have heard about the Ahoms of Assam? Show of hands. Not the adults, the students in the room, the young people in the room. Ahoms of Assam, anybody? I think the point is illustrated enough that 600 years, these people had a 600-year unending kind of a rule. And see the word also, Assam, what we call today, those days it was called Kamarupa. The other name is also Assam. Now in the Assamese language, this syllable of sa is not there. Instead of sa, they say ha. So, and Bengali, Assamese, there's an O also that adds to that, right? So Asama means invincible. That became Ahama, which became Ahom. So someone who was invincible for centuries. And that was what Kamarup was. Whoever came, none of them could occupy this beyond a few decades or a few years. But the students of India do not read about the Ahoms. We don't know about the Manikya Rajas of Tripura, who ruled Manipur also, we don't know much about. So large parts of India, but we know by heart, we know, Babur, then his son Humayun, then his son was Akbar, then that entire chronology, we have it, focused in our head. I'm not saying just remove that. That is another level of stupidity which a lot of politicians do. Remove this. I don't like this, remove this. You can't wish away your past. What is there is always there. But when you talk of the history of Bharat, I think every part of India needs to be represented so that a young girl from Assam or the Northeast who comes and studies, say in Delhi or here or anywhere else, there's nothing about her part of the country which is represented in the book that she is reading. So how does she feel even emotionally integrated with the story, which means nothing to me? I mean, what the Lodhis or Khiljis, and these were bigoted dynasties whose contribution to our civilization was a big zero. We know everything about them. We put them in the syllabus, it's part of history, but 3 chapters, 4 chapters only on that, and all the other dynasties almost disposed of in a map. I think Bharat needs to snatch back her history from Delhi. And that is, normally, yeah, the amount of Delhi bashing that I do, I sometimes fear if I actually will get stoned if I enter the city of Delhi, which as it is battling a lot of things, including bad AQI and bad air. But it is not about one city, it is a mindset, what they call, even in the news media, tyranny of distance. In Delhi, some small little scuffle in some university that becomes national headlines, whereas northeast or south, there could be floods, people could be dying, but it doesn't capture national imagination, and that is exactly what has happened even in history. So I think the second problem is that a more expansive and inclusive version of what history needs to be. Now, the third aspect which I would like to cover is if I asked you, whatever little you remember, 10 of you raised your hands about history being interesting while you read it. What were the battles that come to your mind that you studied in your history classes that time? You know about the, battles of Panipat. Panipat, everyone has heard of? Has someone not heard of Battle of Panipat? Anybody? No, everyone has heard of Battle of Panipat, Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, Battle of Tarain, Anglo-Mysore War, Anglo-Sikh War, Anglo-Maratha Wars, the entire list of wars. Now just see what is the common feature in all these wars that you have been asked to memorize is that India or Indians lost those wars. Now today, if we are a nation which is the only pre-Bronze Age era civilization that is still alive and kicking, there must have been some wars that our poor ancestors, won also. Some courage those poor people must have put. Who were those heroes? And importantly, who are all those heroines? The women who led charge too. Why is that never told to us? So that again is the same colonial construct that, you have that myth of Aryan invasion, which was created. Today it has been debunked very comprehensively through linguistic sources, through archaeology, through genetics and molecular biology, through metallurgy, numerous, ways it has been debunked. But this was told to us. Just imagine the mindset that is there. The British building this narrative that if you feel we are foreigners, we have come from outside to rule you, your earliest ancestors also came from outside. Your language, Sanskritam, also came from outside. Your, greatest works, Rig Veda, everything came from outside. There is nothing that you people are capable of doing yourself. Everything came from there. We are just a software upgrade. We are a version 2.0. So you accept it, that we will also say, you will just say, okay, fine, this is my karmam, this is how it has been for centuries, so I will accept that I need to be under someone else's this one. But as I said, if we are still surviving as a thriving civilization, our languages are surviving, our customs, traditions, our costumes, our cuisine, our places of worship, all of this still thriving despite not 1, 2, but almost thousands of years of invasion. It speaks of something of the resilience and the never say die attitude that our ancestors showed. I'll illustrate this with a couple of examples. Now, I'm sure you might not have heard about this man called Lalitaditya Muktapida of the Karkota dynasty of Kashmir. The name itself is so big and so is the dynasty. So 99.9% people may not have heard about him, but he was termed as the second Samudragupta of the country. And it was thanks mainly to someone like Lalitaditya that the Arabs, when they invaded India, when they invaded Sindh, beyond Sindh, they could not capture the rest of the country. Even the invasion of Sindh, about which we were having a very nice discussion yesterday, it took 60 years for the Arabs to actually capture Sindh. Now come to think of it, after the death of the Holy Prophet, you had the armies of his successors who were known as the caliphs, which went across the world to conquer territory. Within maybe half a century of his passing away, vast parts of Egypt and Syria, the Central Asia, all of this was Islamized. The great empires there, the Byzantine Empire, the Sasanian Empire in Persia, all of these were wiped away, and you had a Islamic flag literally fluttering there, and people very readily taking up to the religion. Now, the first invasion of India by the Arabs happens in 712 with Muhammad bin Qasim coming. Between then to the first Islamic Sultanate that was established in Delhi, it was in 1206. 712 to 1206, 500 years. While those countries fell like pins in 20 years, 30 years, it took 500 years to establish a kingdom here, which means 500 years were we all just sitting and waiting when will the next person come and beat us. 500 years our ancestors kept pushing back. The fact is, the sad part is, none of their names are ever told to us. That is the only thing, because we do not see history from our own eyes. So Lalitaditya was one. You had several others, Yashovarman in Kannauj. They would be fighting with each other, no doubt. But the minute some external attacker came like this, they would form small alliances. You had the Gurjara Pratihara ruler, Nagabhatta. You had Pulakeshin, the Chalukya ruler. You had the Rashtrakuta ruler, Danti Durga. All these people, forming alliances, north, west, south, all of them to push what they would call the, Mlechas out of, the country. And that is why beyond a narrow strip in and around Sindh, they could not occupy a lot of Bharat after that. Now, almost 150 years later, you have the first invasion, which is of Mahmud Ghazni. Now here too, some very poignant examples I would like to give. And just last week, I think, we marked 1,000 years of the Somnath temple's destruction when Mahmud Ghazni came. 8th of January 1026 CE was when this man, who had heard even in where he was sitting back in Ghazni in Afghanistan, that there is this temple of Somnath where people go, and that is one of the Adi Jyotirlingas, and people worship there, so you have to go and destroy it. And he comes specifically with that intention in mind. And the Chalukya ruler in Gujarat, he gets scared of this and he runs away, Bhimadeva. Now, Ghazni thinks, it's an easy thing to go to Somnath, which is on the coast. And he goes, and what he's shocked to see there is that there are 50,000 common Hindus from various castes and communities, including farmers with chisels and all kinds of rudimentary equipment, standing to defend their temple. He thought he can just go easily and break the place. Now it took him 3 days, from 8th of January to 11th of January, to actually kill all these 50,000 people and then go inside the temple and break the deity. And while he did that and he was going back to Ghazni, a common anonymous person, he comes there and he says, by then he's a little confused where they lose their way. They are going through the desert region. Everyone is thirsty, he and his soldiers. So this fellow comes and says, I'm a travel guide. I'll take you to the nearest water stream. Now he believes him and he goes, and this guy, misguides him and takes him deeper, deeper, deeper into the desert. And somewhere Mahmud Ghazni gets a doubt. Where is this fellow taking us? And then he catches him and interrogates him. He said, look, I am no travel guide. I didn't know where there is water. I wanted to take revenge. I wanted to take revenge on the fact that you broke our Somnath. And so I was trying to misguide you and take you inside, and so that all of you die of thirst. And of course, that fellow was slaughtered. But I'm saying this consciousness and this bravery and resilience was there not just in kings and queens, but common people too, who stood up to be counted. Later, when Mahmud Ghori comes to India to attack, I'm sure we would not know of this lady, but a lady called Rani Naiki Devi. She defeats Muhammad Ghori in a battle known as the Battle of Kasarhada, which is fought in 1178 CE. I'm also guilty of being my history teacher, giving you dates to remember. But when you've remembered all the battles that you have lost, a few you can remember which we have won also. And this is one of them where Naiki Devi and Muhammad Ghori thinks, she's a woman, so very easily I'll be able to, capture Gujarat. But she puts up such a brave front and defeats his forces that he's so ashamed and humiliated. And his court chroniclers say he lost, in front of a lady. And so he never comes to Gujarat again. But Naiki Devi or the Battle of Kasarhada never comes in our minds at any point of time. From Karnataka, you had this 4 queens called the Abbakkas. Abbakka, Devi, Yaru, the 4 in plural. And over varied periods of time, they kept conquering the Portuguese. In the 13th, 14th century, I'm talking about. You know, it was a small little principality called Ullal, which is in coastal Karnataka near Mangalore. And the Portuguese tried to attack it. Now this Rani, what she does, she and her soldiers, they didn't have great weapons to counter the Europeans. So local whatever was available, lot of coconut was available there. So this coconut would be scraped, and inside it, the ammunition would be put inside. And like these hurling torpedoes, in the middle of the night, these were all fired at the Portuguese Navy fleet, that the entire Navy fleet actually was taken by surprise and burnt, and even the admiral of the ship was killed. And this bravery of Abbakka reached even the emperor of Persia, who talks about who is this lady in India who has apparently defeated the Portuguese. And there is one Italian traveler in his court called Pietro della Well, who comes then all the way to India, among other things, and also meets this Abbakka and tells, how she looked, what she did, and all this. So the Persian emperor might have heard about her. Pietro della Well might have heard about her, but we in South India, or me from Karnataka, we would not have heard about her. The Karnataka government does one Abbakka Utsava and all those things, but without nobody knowing who the hell this person was or what her, achievement actually was. If you go to the neighboring Kerala, or probably Kanyakumari, the border area, you had this man called Martandavarma, the great ruler of Travancore. Apparently at that time, the Dutch East India Company was establishing itself much before the British, took over their sovereignty. They were expanding from South Africa all the way through Asia to Japan as one of the largest colonizing forces. And in India, the spice trade, the pepper and all of this that was there, that was giving them the money. Now, the Dutch governor comes very haughtily to Martandavarma's court, and he says, I'm going to attack your kingdom if you do this or that. So Martandavarma is supposed to have said, I've also been planning to attack your country back there. It's just that my local fishermen, they're still tying up the boats and the ships, and once they do that, I will also do this, come and attack you. But that was not just bravado that he did. In what is known as the Battle of Colachal, which was in 1741, the Dutch East India Company was dealt a death blow. And had it not been for that, today we would be having this conversation in the Dutch language and not English, and all of us would be speaking in that language, because they would have colonized us. But today, if you go to Colachal, there is one, once you win a war, they'll put a Dhwajastambha, one victory pillar. That poor victory pillar there is maintained by the Travancore royal family, I'm told. Nobody knows that. It's in a dilapidated condition. In any other country of the world, if your ruler has defeated international European power, every textbook of the students there would have mentioned this man. There would have been statues of this person at every square for people to come and pay tribute. But I think today, even in Kerala, people may not know who Martandavarma is. From Tamil Nadu itself, people like Velu Nachiyar, or much earlier, Raja Chola and Rajendra Chola, obviously the kind of expeditions they led all the way to Southeast Asia. But mind you, never to colonize and conquer. They captured it, but then it led to a lot of trade, cultural osmosis, and that's why you find so many elements of Hindu and Indian culture, even to this day, whether it's in Cambodia or in other parts of Southeast Asia. Velu Nachiyar was probably the only queen of the country from Shivaganga who defeats the English East India Company and the Arcot Nawab and gets her principality back, which was taken away by the Arcot Nawab and the English East India Company. You go up to Assam, you had something called the Battle of Saraighat, which in 1671 fought by this very, very brave warrior general of the Assam king, the Ahoms, whose name was Lachit Barphukan. Lachit Barphukan, against him, the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb sent one of the largest imperial armies to defeat Assam, using, again, very, very simple techniques. And I think that should be a case study for students in school, college, in MBA schools, as how the subaltern wins. Someone who's weak. You know about David and Goliath. But this is a David and Goliath story in itself, because these were all, simple people in Assam using bamboo, which was available in large numbers. They made some ships and boats, using elephants, which were there in plenty there, and the mighty Brahmaputra, which was the river. Using that, they pulled the largest imperial army of Aurangzeb and comprehensively defeated it in this battle called the Battle of Saraighat, which was fought in 1671. So Battle of Kolachal, Battle of Saraighat, or the Battle of Kasarhada, the War of Lalitaditya, the Battle of Rani Abbakka, the bravery shown by the Rajas of Sindh, none of this, somehow features in our imagination, which is the sad part. And this was the third myth that I wanted to bust, that we were not a nation of losers. Or as we have been made to believe, that we always covered, our knees in front of an invader who came right from the Shakas, the Hunas, the Indo-Greeks, the Macedonians, anybody who came, to the Arabs, the Turks, the Portuguese, the French, Dutch, and finally the British who came. We put up resistance. Of course, there were mistakes that we committed, and that is what we need to learn, so that these mistakes are not repeated. It's not that everything about the past is great. Mera Bharat Mahan and everything, was excellent. They were faults. And that is the lesson also that history gives us, that what these mistakes you should never repeat again. Are we to take a break now and then begin, or I should continue? Shall I finish it and then take a break, and then we'll probably reconvene for the questions? So just two other points I will finish out of the 5. The fourth part is a bit of a difficult thing to touch for any historian. And that is the fact that, when so many attacks happen over thousands of years, obviously there is going to be violence, there's going to be bloodshed, there's going to be loss of life. But what has happened, unfortunately, and this is a disease that has happened more after independence than before that, is we have started negating the problems of the past. Particularly when it comes to about 800, 900 years of Islamic invasions in the country. And the reason for that is, somewhere we believe that if we talk about these things, it will upset social harmony today. And I feel that is an extremely problematic position to take, because I repeat it, countless times in every possible way, that whether it was Ghazni or Ghori or Timur or Aurangzeb or Tipu Sultan or all these horrible, barbarians and invaders, the responsibility of what they did does not rest on the shoulders of today's communities. A young Muslim boy or girl today is not responsible for these excesses that were committed then at all. By thinking that if you talk about it, somehow you will make them feel uncomfortable, itself is a thought that you're trying to hyphenate them. That, see, we openly talk about the British, what all they did, whether it was Cornwallis or Churchill who created the famine in Bengal. We talk about it openly. In all our movies, the British is the biggest villain. We talk about it very openly. We never think that time that if we speak about this, the Christians in India are going to get offended because they also belong to the same faith as the British. But here, when it comes to all these people, forget, history offers you a space where you can heal from the wounds of the past. Will Durant, the American historian, he had said that the Islamic conquest of India was the bloodiest tale in human history. Not just Indian history, but human history. But let's not talk about it. This is all too uncomfortable. Let's put it under the carpet. It's, when you put garbage under the carpet and you put deodorant on it, thinking that the stink will not come. At some point it will come. And today is the day of information. Everybody who has a smartphone, they can find out information is not the preserve of a few people today. Knowledge is open and free today. When someone goes to a Hampi, the ruins there, or the Konarak Mandir, or the Martand Sun Temple in Srinagar, which Lalitaditya built, and sees it broken, a child is bound to ask who broke it and why. At that time, you cannot make up word salads and cover up these crimes. Now, when this medieval barbarian, Bakhtiyar Khilji, he goes to Nalanda, and the Nalanda Mahavihara, along with several others, you had Vikramashila, you had Takshashila, you had Nalanda, you had Odantapuri. Now, these were like what today you have the Harvard, Oxford, Princetons of the world. That time, we're talking of the 10th, 11th, 12th centuries, after the Gupta period, where people from all over the world came to learn for their education there, whether it was Buddhist or Hindu scholarship. Sanskrit, the Mahayana thing which came out of Sanskrit scholarship was in this region or in Kashmir and all these places. Now Bakhtiyar Khilji comes there, he doesn't understand what this is, and he sets that whole Mahavihara on fire. Now it is said that there were so many manuscripts of knowledge there that it took 6 months. 6 months the fire kept burning. That amount of knowledge was destroyed. Now today, if you all go to the Nalanda ruins, you will see the remains of charred bricks, which is still, I think after so many 800 years, you still see the broken Nalanda with its burnt walls. A little you come out of Nalanda ruins. Guess what is the name of the village that is there outside? It is called Bakhtiyarpur. Now you tell me again, which country in the whole world will actually name one place in honor of a person who came and destroyed your Harvard, your Princeton, your Oxford and everything? But we do it. We are probably singular in the whole world to actually honor that person, saying you broke it. Now we will dedicate one village in your name and commemorate it every time. And if you change that name, then it becomes, oh my God, it is saffronization, it is this and that which comes about. So I think this historical amnesia, we have forgotten our past. Just like what I started off with, I have forgotten my roots here, I don't know. So someone tells me something about my grandfather, great-grandfather, I will quietly believe because I have not done that inquiry into my own roots. And I think this problem when it comes to the long medieval history of India, and some of these are, in their own chronicles that these people came with, these invaders, they have only talked about it with great pride. I spoke about Somnath and how, Mahmud Ghazni goes inside after killing those 50,000 people. So apparently all the pujaris, they came to him and said, you are a looter, you want money, right? So I will give you twice the amount of money that you want. Take that and go away. And don't destroy our Shivalinga. So his contemporary, some people who traveled with him, they used to note down, this is what our Sultan did, he said, everything, with some amount of exaggeration, obviously. So they write that when the pujaris make this offer to Muhammad Ghazni, he laughs and says, if I do that, then my name will be recorded in history as a trader of idols, whereas I want my name to be remembered as the breaker of idols. The term for that is called But Shikan. But as in an idol, But Shikan is breaker of idols. And like, we prefix our name with doctor. I've done a PhD, so please call me Dr. Vikram Sampath. Similarly, these people would say, Sikandar But Shikan. I have broken 100 idols. I have broken 200 idols. And this would be with lot of pride, not something that they were upset about. I've written about Tipu Sultan, who very openly in his letters, in his diary that he used to have, he used to tell this with pride. 1 lakh infidels or kafirs were converted in Calicut. I have broken so many, temples here, there, multiple places. in his own, he was a very vivid dreamer apparently. He would see a lot of dreams every night. And the minute he wakes up, he would spend about 2-3 hours in his toilet to note down all that he dreamt, sitting maybe on his spot. So this original diary that Tipu Sultan wrote, I managed to access it from the British Library in London in his own handwriting. And you'll be amazed to see the kind of things he writes, where he says, there is a iron bowl full of, black stones, and then suddenly he starts rotating it, and some divine light comes, and these stones start converting into badam, almonds. So he wakes up and immediately writes this, and he interprets it in his word, that probably this is divine, telling me the stones are the saligramas, and they have all become badam. That means they have to be converted. So I think I'm getting a divine message that convert everybody. So I will be divinely ordained to convert. It is as ridiculous as that. Now these are his own diaries. This is not someone else interpreting what he said. But we will not talk about this. Sheila ji, and we were talking about how we had that sword of Tipu Sultan and so on, which some of us, none of you would have. We older people, while growing up, we saw this. We have been taught to forget these excesses, and that is the reason history will always keep repeating itself. You have heard that proverb, history repeats itself. The reason is because no one was hearing it the first time. So it keeps repeating again and again, so that you actually start learning some lesson from it. So once again, I need to emphasize and underline here that talking about all of this is not hatred for anybody today. Nobody today is responsible for this, but this is a cold fact of history. I can't change my past. Just as I cannot say, okay, remove the Mughals from the textbook. I can't. I mean, they ruled, so they ruled. Someone did something horrible, they did it. I mean, I can't retrospectively go and, whitewash that and make something artificial just so that it is politically correct. The Indian word for history is itihasa in Sanskrit. The translation is, it thus happened. It happened in this way. That's all, based on sources and documents. You are just accounting what all has happened. So where is the need to not say what has truly happened? So this is the fourth, myth that I wanted to dispel, that these excesses of the past you need to recount, you need to learn from them, not harbor hatred and move on. In South Africa, you had the horrible thing of apartheid against the blacks there. Now, after the apartheid ended, you had Desmond Tutu, who started something called Ubuntu, or, where the person who committed an atrocity and the victim, both of them were put face to face, and the victim would tell all his, grievances, grudges, anger, all the negative feelings that are there inside, he would spit it out. The other person would hear, he would say, I'm sorry for what I did, and it is over. You have spoken it out, it is healed, and you move on. That was called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. You're not just saying the truth, but you're also reconciling. You are healing from it, not just, making the wounds fresh. Here what we do, when you get a wound also, you need to put some cream, take some medication so that slowly it heals. But if you don't do anything and the wound festers inside, it can become a cancer. And that is exactly what we are seeing in so many social conflicts, right from the Ayodhya dispute to renaming, so many cities, because we haven't made peace with our past. Tell the truth as it is, stare it in the face, get done with it and move on so that we can build a better future for the country. Not live in the past. And I'm telling this as a historian, please don't live in the past. Learn from its mistakes, heal and move on. The last aspect that I wanted to cover is on the entire story of our freedom movement and the way in which it is presented, again, as a colonial and post-independent construct. Now, we are told that, only through non-violent means India attained freedom. Somebody went to the ocean, picked up salt, and then they said, quit India. In 1942, 5 years we were saying, quit India, quit India, quit India. Finally, in 1947, the British got bored and said, okay, they're asking so much, so let me quit and go. So it is not as if there was no value for the Satyagraha, the non-violent movement, which was raging all over the country, the role that Gandhiji played in bringing this whole nation with that consciousness of freedom. But was it the only reason why we got our freedom? I don't think so. There was on parallel tracks, two things were happening. The mass movement, non-violence, which was going on one side, but there was also a very bloody revolution, an armed struggle, which was going on from long time. And the roots of it come right from Velu Nachiyar, the Mardu Pandyans, the Mardu brothers, who in their Jambudvipa declaration, here in Srirangam, on the walls of the temple, they put up this poster saying, our idea is to liberate this entire Jambudvipa from the British. And so let us all join hands. And so you had the Palegar rebellion from then, Veera Pandyan Kattabomman, you had Dhondoji Wag from Mysore, you had Palasi Raja from Kerala, and Mardu Pandyans, all of them coming together. So it started from there. And then, of course, the Sannyasi rebellion in Bengal, you had the Adivasis, the Bhils, Birsa Munda, and all these people. And then the big, explosion came in 1857, which someone like a Savarkar actually called the first war of Indian independence. We call it, the British wanted to call it a Sepoy mutiny. Some Sepoy soldiers in the army, they were not happy with the British because they had to, break these cartridges. And the grease that was there on the cartridges was made of beef and pork lard. And so both the Hindus and the Muslims were very offended by this. And so they came up, few hundred soldiers, they just did something. We killed all of them and the revolt was crushed. But Savarkar actually researches about this sitting in London. And he says this was not just this cartridge which caused this. There was a deep-rooted resistance which was building up, and the two principles for which people sought freedom that time was Swarajya and Swadharma. So our sovereignty, Swarajya, and for our dharma. And there Hindus and Muslims came together in this conflict. And that becomes the first war of Indian independence, 1857. Now from then all the way, 1946, you have what is known as the naval mutiny in Bombay. This happens in February 1946, where some of the naval units and also the army units in Madras, in Jabalpur, several parts of India, they start rising in rebellion. And the Second World War has just ended, and these people start rising in rebellion. Now, just 3 weeks after that, the British sent the cabinet mission plan to announce freedom talks, just 3 weeks after the naval mutiny. Now, many people say this was not, just as that was not the Sepoy mutiny, but the first war of Indian independence, this was not the naval mutiny, but the last war of Indian independence, which shook the foundations of the British Empire. Constantly, if you see the history of the freedom movement, the idea that the revolutionaries had was, can we replicate the model of 1857? Somehow infiltrate the army, create an uprising there, a Bagawat in the army. And even at Second World War times, there were hardly, 5%, 10% were British in the army. The rest of it was made up of Indians. Now we talk of General Dyer going and attacking people in Jallianwala Bagh. He gave the orders, but who shot at our own countrymen and women and children? They were Indians. Indian soldiers did that on the orders of the British. So the logic of the revolutionaries was simple, that if you infiltrate the army and create an uprising, even 10% of this army, comes to the side of the freedom movement, the next day the British Empire will be ended. And that is exactly what happened eventually with Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose setting up the Indian National Army and, creating this, the after effects were, of course, these naval mutiny and all of this. And the British were petrified that we don't want a repeat of this. Before there is total disaster, let us pack up our bags. And so in a haste, without even organizing the partition of the country in a proper way, millions, it was the largest displacement of human history, both on the east and the west, with millions of lives, families, affected. They left the country. So the story of these revolutionaries, somehow, that also becomes a small footnote in our history books. Even as late as 2016, you had members of Bhagat Singh's family writing to the HRD minister then, Smriti Irani, I think, saying that Delhi University textbooks call Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Rajguru, Bagha Jatin, all these people as revolutionary terrorists. That is the term that they use in the textbooks even now. And the family took umbrage at it, said this term was used by the British. They were freedom fighters, they were not terrorists. Of course, one person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist. But when you tell a young person today that Bhagat Singh was a terrorist, and at the same time images are flashing of Pahalgam and other places, you can imagine what goes on in the mind of a child about who Bhagat Singh was. And the kind of tortures that the British, did only on these revolutionaries, it is heart-wrenching. And not too far from here, if you go a little down into the ocean, you have Port Blair, you have the Andaman Islands, and that is where you had the Kala Pani. It was called the Black Waters, the cellular jail of Kala Pani, where hundreds of political prisoners who were of the revolutionary batch, not one congressman actually was sent to Kala Pani as a prisoner. It was only people of the revolutionary batch, largely from Bengal, few from Maharashtra, some even from Tamil Nadu, all over India, the United Provinces, Punjab, all of these people were packed off there. And just to recount the troubles that we suffered there, these poor people, they were all probably of your age, maybe in their late teens, early 20s, with a lot of idealism that we have to get our motherland free. They did what they did. But they were sent there, and the basic human dignity and facilities not provided to them of good food, toilet facilities. It's a little awkward talking about this, but I think we should, know about what they did. We are only talking about it. They endured it. They were given food which was usually, stale food. And there would be pieces of reptiles or lizard or something in the food. So eating that horrible food, most of them would end up with diarrhea. Now, if you had to go to the toilets, you could go only twice a day, morning and night. Rest of the day, you're not free to go. Now, if you have diarrhea and if you have to go repeatedly, what do? In those narrow cells that they were put in, they had to urinate, defecate there in their own cells. Sitting amidst your own squalor, eating, sleeping in that midst, weeks of standing handcuffs punishment. So where there also, you have to urinate and defecate in your own cell and eat there what you have. And in the blazing heat of Port Blair, they would give this punishment of the Kolhuka bell, this, the oil grinding machine that is there even in villages. There is a bull that is there, and then it goes round and round, and it grinds the fiber and extracts oil. So instead of the bull, the freedom fighter would be yoked to that. And throughout the day, from the morning to the night, this person had to go round and round. If they needed water, they could not get water. If they fainted, they would be whiplashed. They still had to go round and round. And every day, they had to extract 30 pounds of oil. Now, if it is 1 little ounce less than 30, whiplash, no dinner for you. They would have leeches eating on their skins, no health facilities given. So many of these young people, they started either, going insane because of the tortures, or they would commit suicide because death was better than this kind of inhuman, unimaginable tortures. Several people like Veer Savarkar or Barin Ghosh, Sachindranath Sanyal, all these great freedom fighters, among hundreds others. Ulaskar Dutt, Indu Bhushan Roy, as I said, several people from Bengal, they endured. But today, if we ask ourselves, can we name 10 people who endured these tortures in Port Blair? I don't think we can honestly be able to recount these names. Now today, all of us are sitting here in breathing free air, talking everything, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, all these hallowed things that we talk about. It is because those young men went there, struggled, gave their lives, ruined their lives, those who came back alive. They never recovered their health after that. The least we can do is at least remember their names. And I think from the school, people should be taken to, or the college too, should be taken to Port Blair, and it should become a center of pilgrimage for everybody, saying these were the great heroes to whom we owe our freedom, our happiness today. Without that sense of gratitude, how ungrateful can we be as a nation if we do not account all these people and their greatness? So when we look at the freedom movement too, it served the British very nicely to show that, oh, they were all very non-violent, we also very non-violently just went away. No, it was not, freedom was not given to us, like a bhik. It was not given to us in bhiksha. It was fought. It was a bloody war that was fought for freedom. And these two are two different streams who always clashed with each other. And in that, two poles that come is, of course, Gandhiji, and you have Veer Savarkar, each representing the two streams. And I'll recount one story, where they were both young men, maybe of your age. They were in London. Savarkar was studying there to become a barrister. And there was a place called the India House, which is still there, where all these young revolutionaries used to gather. Savarkar, then Shyamji Krishna Varma, this man who started that house, bringing people from India there so that you can engineer a revolution back in India, sitting in Europe. You had people like Madam Bhikaji Kama, several others who were there. So Gandhi came to this India House, and it was a time of the Dashera. And there would be lectures like this which were organized. And Gandhi first talks about his conception of freedom. And he says, I don't believe in violent uprisings, but I want a Rama Rajya to be established, an ideal kingdom where everybody is free. And so on and so forth, he postulates. And he goes away, and then Savarkar is supposed to have come. And he says, even to establish the Rama Rajya, Lord Ram had to go and fight a bloody war and kill Ravan and get Sita back. He didn't go and sit in Satyagraha in front of Ravana, and then he said, okay, I take pity on you and give Sita back. There was a bloody war. In the Mahabharata, you have Lord Krishna telling Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that opposite you, if even it is your uncle, your teacher, your nephew, whoever, cousin, if that person is on the path of adharma, then it is your bounden duty, it is your moral duty, your dharmic duty to destroy that person. Don't be taken by attachment. So his question was to Gandhi was, do you consider the British government as adharmic or not? If it is adharmic, the means don't matter, the end matters. Whether it is war, whether it is non-violence, whatever it is, we have to get rid of this adharmic government. And he said today, we are having this talk during Navratri, during Dashera, and in the Devi Saptashati, in 700 verses, Durga is coming and slaying Madhukaitabha, Dhumaketu, all of these, Chanda, Munda, Shumbha, Nishumbha, Mahishasura, all of these people. And what non-violence are we talking about? All our gods and goddesses are shown with astras and shastras. This is not for ornaments, just holding it so that your hand has something to show. It is to show that you have a Kshatriya spirit in you, Kshatriya spirit. You are not the first offender, but if someone is attacking you, it is your duty to counter-attack and defend yourself. So this pacifism that we have come to, that, oh, violence is bad. Violence is certainly bad, but if someone is harming you and doing something against you, it is your moral duty, as per what your scriptures say, to pick up and defend. You're not the aggressor, you're not the oppressor, but if you are oppressed, you can't say, I'm not even going to stand up and use all means, whether it is violence, no, absolute non-violence. according to the revolutionary faction, is a very non-Hindu concept, because there is no concept called absolute non-violence within Hinduism. Ahimsa paramo dharma, yes, but when we are dealing with another dharmic person, when the other person is not, then the maxim fails. So I think these were the fundamental philosophical clashes between these two streams. And today we need to account, as I said, 80 years have passed after freedom, and we need to look at all these various streams of people, their contributions, the kind of sacrifices, what I mentioned in Port Blair, other places. You had people operating out of continents, the Gadar movement which happened from Punjab, the Sikhs who went all the way to Canada, to San Francisco. Just imagine, they had nothing like a cell phone or WhatsApp. I form a Freedom for India WhatsApp group, and then we'll communicate with each other on that. But across continents, they were actually communicating between Canada, US, Europe, Germany playing a very important role, and Southeast Asia, saying simultaneously, shall we have a rebellion in the army units of British Empire all over the world, so that the Indian foundations of the British Empire are shaken. Those things didn't succeed. That's another issue. Finally, it was Netaji who was the consummation of that dream. But, we need to expand the scope of what we study. So if we are saying we are looking at Indian history through our eyes, understanding that India, Bharat, is an ancient entity. It is a Rashtra Purusha, as some people have defined it. It is not an ahistorical construct given to us by the British. We have not been a nation of losers. We have made mistakes for which we paid a very heavy price, but at the same time, there has been achievements in the physical resistance, in the production of knowledge in various fields of our 5,000, 6,000 years of existence, that India is not just Delhi, it is all parts of this large country. Every part has a role to play. Uncomfortable truths of the past, please do not negate them, put them under the carpet and say these never happened. Deal with it, make peace and move on, and also honor the people who gave their lives and everything for the freedom that we so cherish today. I think this larger framework would be a way in which, if we looked at Indian history through our own eyes, how Bharatiya Itihasa would look as. I would conclude with a shloka which is attributed often to Kalhana, the historian from Kashmir who wrote the series, the Raja Tarangini. Raja Tarangini is a river of kings, one after the other. For 5,000 years, so many people came. The entire account that Kalhana writes. So like today, we wonder, maybe they also wondered, why should we read history? What is the use of reading history? And he postulates that in this shloka, which he says, Dharmartha kama mokshanam upadesha samanvitam kathayuktam puravrittam itihasam tachakshmate. Puravritta, or the narratives and narratives of the past, kathayuktam, told to you in a story form, and for what joy? To attain the four purusharthas of dharma, artha, kama and moksha. But very importantly, there is another element to it, upadesha samanvitam. There has to be a didactic element. There has to be a moral fiber. What is good, what is bad, what is dharma, what is adharma. If it covers all these points, itihasa ta chakshmate, that is called itihasa. And itihasa, as I mentioned to you earlier, it translates to it thus happened. So I think this gives a very clear picture. And if you see what is called itihasas in our Bharatiya lexicon are the 18 Puranas and the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. All of them have these aspects. Through stories, through all those fantastic, flying objects here, there, all kinds of asuras and everything. Through those stories, a historical truth is embedded in that. But there's also an upadesha in all of this, that what is good, what is bad, what is dharma, what is adharma. Otherwise, it is just a dry catalogue of facts. He came after him, which we mugged up in school and hated it. But if history is to be composite, if it is to aid nation building, then all these aspects would go together in making history. I think I've far exceeded my time, and thank you so much for being such a patient audience, listening to history on a Monday morning. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you, Sheila ji, and all the trustees for inviting me. Thank you. Namaskaram.
Thank you, sir, for the eye-opening session that burst very many historical myths. The session will resume after a short break of 15 minutes. Dear audience, dear students, you will have a question-answer session in the next session. Now, the students may disperse as guided by the professors. Please be back after 15 minutes. Dear students, please maintain silence while leaving the auditorium.